Today I will be using alcohol markers and drawing my own version of the iconic bus stop scene in Studio Ghibli's My Neighbor Totoro. This is Laura's Art Basement. Studio Ghibli is a Japanese animation film studio. They made anime-style films such as Ponyo, Howl's Moving Castle, Spirited Away, and My Neighbor Totoro. Studio Ghibli director and co-founder Hayao Miyazaki has been called the Walt Disney of Japan. If you grew up watching Disney animated features, the first time you glance at a Studio Ghibli film, you might not get that comparison. Studio Ghibli films combine everyday scenes with the surreal. The characters range from the overly cute to the grotesque. Folklore and symbolism are used throughout the stories that comment on society and politics. Doesn't sound too much like Disney. Hayao Miyazaki is quoted as saying, "I wanted my movies to be peaceful, tranquil, and innocent. I wanted to create that kind of world. And also I wanted to prove that a movie like that could be successful." Now it's starting to sound more like Disney. My Neighbor Totoro is the story of two young girls and their father who move to a new home out in the country where they can be close to the hospital where their mother is a patient. Totoro is a spirit of the forest who appears to the girls when they are alone and afraid. He spends time with them, and through his silliness he reminds them to be children and not take on adult worries. Hayao Miyazaki encouraged his animators to be more childlike with their designs. He told his animators, "We have to make Totoro so we can't figure out if he's really smart or really stupid. He might be thinking very deep thoughts, or he might be thinking of nothing." The two girls are the only ones who can see him, which makes him like a puka. What's a puka?
Puka, from old Celtic mythology, a fairy spirit in animal form, always very large. The puka appears here and there, now and then, to this one and that one. A benign but mischievous creature.
Definitely a puka. Hayao Miyazaki, some people believe, was influenced by Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. The whimsical cat bus reminds people of the Cheshire Cat. And the little sister May chases a little white Totoro into the woods and falls down a hole, not unlike Alice falling through the looking glass and chasing the white rabbit. They started the studio in the 1980s. They were unhappy with the speed and quality of the animation that was being put out at the time. The name Ghibli came from the Arabic word meaning hot air blowing in from the Sahara Desert. Hayao Miyazaki changed the pronunciation from a hard G to a soft G. And Totoro is a mispronunciation of the Japanese word for troll. Hayao Miyazaki considered the 1950s the golden age of animation. And My Neighbor Totoro takes place in rural Japan in the 1950s. It took a few years to get financial support for the film, because they didn't think that a film that took place in rural Japan in the 1950s was an exciting enough setting. When the film finally opened, it was not a huge success. It had the worst opening box office. It wasn't actually until a year later, when it was put on TV, that it became hugely successful. Since then, Totoro has become the mascot and logo for Studio Ghibli. In the famous bus stop scene, the girls are getting more and more anxious. Their mother's in the hospital, and they're waiting for their father. It's pouring rain, and it's getting dark, and they're anxious about being alone. And all of a sudden, Totoro arrives. And he even manages to make the gloomy, rainy day fun. I didn't want to do the background in alcohol markers because, well, it would use up too much of the markers to get the dark night and the rain. So I decided to do the background digitally in Clip Studio. Subscribe to be notified when a new art video is posted. And don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video.